Hey, True Believers England team here, and we're going to be talking about a few things. I've got Common America up behind me, and the creator of Common America right up here beside me here, Tim Lim. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, England team?
Peachy keen. Of course, we've got the real Dr. Venkman, except no substitutes.
Always glad to see a new face on here. Don't you guys get sick of us? Just want to see new people.
Right. Okay. By the way, yes, because I know it'll be joked about. I do recognize Tim, friend. He is right there. No, he's that one right here. Okay. Yeah. Yes. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this. I saw an article, and it's talking about how a lot of people are leaving. They're doing webtoons, even the from the major two, the Marvel and DC. You have been plugging away. You have been a workhorse as far as all of your comics are concerned. The oh my goodness, President Thump and the Wall Mites, Trump Space Force, and of course Common America. You have just been kicking ass, and you've been consistent. You've built up a great fan base. Please tell everybody what happened today.
Well, this actually happened on Friday, but it went through the weekend as well, and we gained momentum. But basically, the 3 volumes of Common America that are currently out in the public, and they've been on Kindle for some time, they made it to the top 100 of Amazon Kindle sales. Now, as of Thursday, they were in like the bottom 50, but from Friday to Saturday, they actually made it into the top 35. And so we beat out some titles like we beat out Miss Marvel. We beat out The Killing Joke in one category.
Watchmen. The tweet you sent, you were number 19 and number 20 was The Watchmen.
Right, and this is what we consider a momentary victory, because obviously these numbers fluctuate, and if something is hot for 1 minute, the next day it'll obviously fall off that ranking. But just knowing that for this brief moment in time, we were able to climb that high in this ladder and gain that much attention to the point where our momentum was so large that we were able to surpass some of these greats in the comics medium. I mean, that to us is a huge accomplishment. So we're just thrilled. We're over the moon that people are discovering it. But that's kind of like what happened over the weekend.
Hey, some of the best songs ever made was only in the top 10 or even number 1 for 1 week. Yeah, so let's celebrate your achievement here, because you guys deserve it. Every time anybody's talking about Indiegogo or Kickstarter projects that they can rely on, Tim Lim and Mark Pellegrini. By the way, it's Mark Pellegrini in the picture. I saw the tweet. Who's that guy under Tim Lim? It's the writer, okay? He writes the books. He's a great guy. It is something. It's comic books are a visual medium, so a lot of times the artist does get more attention than the writer does.
Yeah, and sometimes there's always a debate in terms of, well, who's more important, the writer or the artist? And Mark and I, we consider that to be really funny. Like it's I don't know. It's almost like the whole who would win in the fight, like Superman versus Goku. And then Stan Lee had that kind of classic answer to that, which is, well, it's whoever the writer says would win. And for us, it's like, well, a comics medium is comprised of 2 things. It's comprised of writing and art. So to us, it's always 50-50, even the way we split our profits. I think that's really shocking to a lot of people, because like, well, you do all the work, like you do all the art, you do all the lettering, you do all of the, I guess the strategic portion of it, the compilation, the digital prepress, basically all the kind of physical labor. But I said, but without the writing, without the engine behind it, it wouldn't be what you guys like. And to me, that's worth something. It reminds me of, so for example, with my degree, I have a doctorate in audiology. And if I were to join the Army, I would not have to go through a lot of the things that a lot of enlisted people would have to. You're automatically given the rank of captain. And I remember asking kind of this Army recruiter, I was like, why? Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. And it's like, well, you have to understand what the Army is wanting. And for you, for your degree, they want your brain. Essentially, like that, the years of effort you put into fostering what you know in this very specific medical field is worth something to us to the point where you come in directly as captain, if that's the rank, if you decide to enlist. And I treat it the same way with a guy like Mark. Mark's brain, like the years he spent cultivating as a writer, is irreplaceable. I cannot write the way he does. It would be a very poor simulacrum of his talent. And to me, that's worth half of whatever we earn. So I think a lot of people scoff at that, and some people just choose to ignore it. But I'm like, no, after all the checks are written, whatever's left, 50% goes to him, 50% goes to me. I don't care how much more time it takes me. I am always thinking to myself, there's no way that any of this would be possible if he did not have the story to drive it. And people like that. I guide them through it by the art, but essentially it's a way for them to look at what he's writing.
Well, even when it comes to movies, and yeah, I do compare comic books to movies sometimes. You can read a book and go, wow, that's cinematic in the way they do it. Dark Knight's a great example of that, being a very cinematic book. You can actually see the book in motion. You actually explained it to me one time. We'll have to get to that. It was one of the biggest revelations I have ever had about one of my favorite artists of all time. But just like a movie cannot survive on a bad script, I think the same thing is with a comic book. An artist definitely brings people into the door, but if the writing is bad, it'll be like, wow, yeah, I could see the pretty pictures in another book. It almost like it undersells the art.
Two examples of that. So two of my favorite artists whose work I collect and study religiously. Gabriel Del Otto is one. He's the Italian painter. He's done a lot of work for DC and Marvel. And then the other one is Joe Madureira, or Madureira, depending on how people pronounce it. And Gabriel Del Otto had this book that he teamed up with Mark Waid. It was a graphic novel called Spider-Man Family Business. And the writing was so god-awful that I couldn't keep it. I was like, I own all of his work, but I was like, I like him as an artist, but I don't think I want to keep this. So I think I returned it like the very next day after I read it. Joe Mad, he did the art for Ultimates Volume 3, and that's one with Jeff Loeb. Now that one I've kept, but I only keep it for the art. I don't even bother.
Yeah, that story is so awful. It's something that Jeff Loeb wrote that.
Right.
It's I don't even have anything to compare it to. I mean, Jeff Loeb, he wrote Long Halloween. He's somebody you're like, okay, yeah, I can rely on this guy. And then he wrote that book, and wow, what a crap fest that was. The artist, by the way, kids, Tim and I and Doug Ernst, we were at what was that? It was the Spanish restaurant, Bongos.
Bongos, owned by, was it Gloria Estefan?
Gloria Estefan's restaurant. Yeah, loudest freaking restaurant in Disney Springs outside of STK, the other restaurant that me and Doug went to. But we were talking about comic book artists, and I brought up Alex Ross. Love Alex Ross's work. And you said, I remember this because it floored me. You said that he's a great artist, but he's not a great comic book artist. And them's fighting words, boy. What the hell are you talking?
Yeah.
And then you explained it. As like, look at all the pictures. They're great paintings, but they're paintings. They're stagnant. When you're reading a comic book, you want it to flow almost to the point where where the eyes need to go for the next word bubble or for the next panel, because the art kind of sends you in that direction. Jack Kirby was amazing at this, by the way. Whether or not you like the aesthetic of his art, he knew how to place a panel. He knew how to format a page, and your eyes would be drawn to wherever it was you needed to be next. So it just kind of a flow. And I remember you mentioned that. And then I went back and I looked at Marvel's. Still a beautiful book. Love the book. Love the story. But I noticed you were right. It was very much, instead of actually seeing or feeling like in Dark Knight, as I mentioned, that one scene where the cop goes, "Kid, you're in for a show." And then we get the lightning strike of Batman flying across I was about to say screen, but the page. You actually kind of feel it. You actually sort of see it move, even though it's just a piece of paper. So, Yeah, you kind of opened my eyes to that sort of art, and I was really like, and I guess that is the big difference between being a great artist, being a great sequential artist.
Yeah, there's a big difference, and some people can pull it off, and that's not to say that Alex Ross can't pull it off. It's just that in a lot of his body of work, for me, it's 50-50. There's things I read from him, such as like Kingdom Come and Marvels, which I like, and I do think it's because any weakness he might have as a sequential artist is made up for by the writing. I think the writing is able to at least pull you through. But some of his other work, like for example, like his standalone Batman and Superman titles, they're these huge books. And I just found myself like falling asleep. And I was just like, what's the deal? Like, why am I like bored looking at it? Because the art is amazing. And I realized that, for example, in animation, you have principles of squash and stretch. The idea that you bend the physics of reality just a little bit because the human eye wants to see something that's kind of unique that you can't just see in the physical world. And you have that's a great example in The Dark Knight, in The Dark Knight Returns. That pose that he does in the lightning strike is physically impossible and improbable, because he basically does that hang time thing where his knees are pulled up to his to basically a crouching position, and he has like one arm extended. It's like that's a pose that no one does in real life, but it looks so cool.
It does. As a matter of fact, in order to achieve that pose, you would have to have your weight on the ground. It's like if you're at temple and you're bowing to the Buddha or something, or whining, or your entire weight is on your back legs. Let me get this real quick, and thank you very much to Dakari the Professor saying, Common America, Immortal Hulk, and Chip Zdarsky were my reasons not to give up on American comics personally. So there you go. You're inspiring people to stick around for a while, man.
That's very touching. Thank you, Dakari. I really appreciate that. I'll pass that along to Mark. He might actually be tuning in right now. So that's definitely kudos to him, being the writer, but I hope that you enjoy the art as well.
I'll go ahead quickly. The thing I always run into whenever I read a book or especially new ones, anybody Marvel or DC, and sometimes the independents, you can tell that the writer wanted to go a different way, but the artist couldn't draw it, so they had to go with the artist could limited to drawing when it comes to sequentials.
Does that ever happen, or is it a Greg Land is kind of stuck to whatever porn page he can find.
You like Chase.
Right, I got a magazine. What is it? National Geographic. Oh no! Yeah, he's kind of screwed that day. So did you ever
come up and eat grass off a tree?
Yeah. Let's see. Any Bendis book is the prime example of good art crap.
But I was gonna say this: you can usually the best books are the ones you can tell by the art is so great that you can tell they're not limited to what the story is, because the person can't do like what the writer wants, the story gets limited. So when you have an artist who's talented enough to this to draw anything and not suffer from it, I always find those to be like the best stories, personally.
I find that, I don't know about you guys, but and I guess we'll just go one by one. But I own more books where the writing is really good and the art is not to my liking, but the book itself is so good that it doesn't matter. And that's why, and that might be a bias coming from me as an artist. You would think that I would be like having artists back, like, no, it's 100% the artist. Like the art has to be good. I'm like, look, let's go back to Tim Sale. I have The Long Halloween. I have what's the other one he did, which is like is it Haunted Night, I think.
And Dark Victory or something. Yeah, I think they're like a trilogy or something.
Yes, I do not like Tim Sale's art, and if you like Tim Sale's art out there, that's fine. I'm just saying personally, I don't like it. You'll notice that he draws like Batman's philtrum, which is the technical term for that distance between the bottom of your nose and your lip. It is huge. He basically has like a monkey's, like mandible or jaw or whatever. But anyway, despite the art, I like it. I mean, it is a great book. Same thing with when Garth Ennis was writing The Punisher for Marvel Max. I did not like Steve Dillon's art, but his writing for Punisher was so good in terms of a dark humor, action sense, that I own every volume of the Punisher Max series, all the way going up until Marvel Knights, going through Punisher Max, because it didn't matter who the artist was. I was going to pick it up because I liked Garth Ennis' writing. And I feel like that's about 80% of my collection is just works where I didn't care who the artist was. You could have had like a 10th grader doing the art, and I still would have bought it just because the writing was so good.
It's crayon.
That's actually for my trade paperback collection. I've got my hardcover collection, then I got my trade paperback collection. My hardcover tends to be more collections. The 75th celebration, 75 years of Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, Robin, those kind of books. But if I'm buying for the story, I'm exactly like you. I'm more likely to buy something I love the story of rather than the art of.
Speaking of which, because of you, I bought that book, Meth the Pig.
And?
Oh, I haven't read it yet, but I bought it based on
okay.
your recommendation.
I want to know. I want to know if this is if I'm the only person. Like, am I on meth myself, thinking that this is the? I just loved it though.
I like the premise. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah. For those of you who weren't at the other live stream where I pushed it, we were talking about books that nobody's heard of but you, that you'll love. It's called Meth the Immortal, and it's about a pig who, after they did the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, they pulled the body down, they got rid of the cross, everybody goes home. A pig comes up, and he actually licks the blood of Christ off of the rocks that were underneath his crucifixion, and he gains immortality through that. And it's about his long life, basically. It is just a fascinating book. It's weird because it's about an immortal pig, but
I like the idea that his name is Meth because it's short for Methuselah. That's the part that confused me when you were doing your premise. I was like, but why is his name Meth? Oh, it's Methuselah.
Methuselah,
like the oldest living human according to the Bible.
Yeah, no, we just explained it, Rygar. It's not whatever.
So
it's Meth Methuselah. Yeah.
The pig is immortal. In other words, he doesn't age, or is this like nobody can get around and try to slaughter him?
No, well, he doesn't age, but yeah, I don't want to reveal too much.
No, I just can't wrap my head around a pig. Some guy is trying to come back here and make hot dogs out of you.
But if you Google Meth the Pig, you'll find it. Yeah, it's.
I don't want to Google image any with meth or pigs.
Okay, Meth the Pig comic book. Yeah.
Yeah, you won't find anything weird. Like I said, I Googled it and it popped up immediately. So, I mean, the Google algorithm is pretty kind to it in terms of bringing up what you need to see. But I'll tell you something about what you were describing, Englentine. I was having this talk with an artist yesterday because he's about to launch his own campaign. Mm-hmm. And so we just talk about once a week, we'll talk about tips and tricks, things that he feels like he needs to do. And I said, one thing that you do that I appreciate is your sales pitch. You don't do X meets Y. And that's just kind of a general tip I've given to a lot of people. And they say, well, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, I don't want to sound discriminatory, but it's true. But I typically will not buy a book where if you pitch it to me, you say, it's X-Men meets Ghostbusters. It's John Constantine meets Mean Girls. It's like, well, in my mind, if your work is good enough, I feel like you should have already a pitch in your head that stands alone where you don't have to compare it to something else. Yeah. And I think that the other day when you were describing it, I could tell that it was a work that you loved because you did not have to resort to that. And I've noticed a lot of independent creators, they do that. There's two sales pitches they do. One is that X meets Y. And the second thing they do is they say something like, if you like Conan the Barbarian, you'll love my book. If you love Batman, you're sure to like my title. It's like, no. I'm not saying that doesn't work, but here's my background in this. Okay, when I was in college, there was this thing that they had us prepare for, which was our interviews. And they would say, hey, when you're going to be interviewed, they're going to ask you this question. Name a strength and a weakness of yours. And they coached us as to how to answer the latter. And they would say, make sure that when you answer what your weakness is actually a strength in disguise. So, for example,
sorry about that. Can you get that the Dr. Pepper thing?
So is it like?
Sorry, my daughter came in. I apologize.
That's okay.
Sorry.
So you've never gone? It's Black Ops meets Common America.
No. The most that will go is if someone asks us a direct question such as, "What works do you draw inspiration from?" then we'll answer it directly. But we never, ever, ever do the X and Y.
It seems to me, if you're like, say, if I'm writing a comic book and nobody knows me from Adam, and I go, oh, it's like Conan the Barbarian, then people could go, yeah, well, but
it's over there.
Yeah, I've got Conan the Barbarian right here. Why do I need your book? So,
well, think of it. And so, when we were told this thing where it's like, what's a weakness of yours? The way we were coached was take a strength, but present it as a weakness. So, for example, oh, I care too much. Oh, I'm too hardworking. Oh, I'm a workaholic. But the problem was when I was in that position as an interviewer and we would ask that question, people would come and they would answer the questions the way I was coached when I was a student. And then suddenly it's like, okay, now I see through it because it's like, I can tell that you came from this same school of thought. So that's always in the back of my mind when I think of like how people do these pitches. And so what I was telling this artist was I said, imagine if Marvel was selling Spider-Man and they said, do you like Batman? Do you like Superman? Then you'll love Spider-Man. It's like, no, they would never do that because in a way, it's kind of acknowledging that they're lesser than a brand that's better than them. So it's like, just for the sake of creativity, make sure that you can describe your own work in your own words without having to resort to a comparison. But the other day when you were talking about that and you were able to say, this is a title that you might have not heard of, but let me just describe it to you. It's this. I was like, he did that in one sentence without taking a breath. And I could tell that you loved it enough that you could describe it. And I always tell people that I think one reason why manga is outselling a lot of Western comics nowadays is that the Japanese are so sure of their work that they describe the whole thing in their title. So you can go to Barnes & Noble and pick up, I was hit by a truck and got resurrected by a toilet. And you don't have to ask what the plot is. The plot is in the title, as in what's the book about.
I know what you mean.
I would read that book.
There's one called there like I was resurrected as a time I was resurrected as a slime.
Yeah.
There's weird stuff like that. Those are the ones I avoid. Honestly, I see stuff like that. It's like that's way out there. Maybe people like that, but slime, no, I'm not interested in that.
Right. And I mean, like every title I'm reading right now that's manga, I mean, like you don't really have to ask what it's about. It is in the title, like Goblin Slayer. What's it about? Is that a guy who slays goblins? That's what it's about.
Rhaegar saying his biggest weakness is, I think I'm a terrible worker, but that's not true.
I always thought that Goblin Slayer was a tribute to Slayer.
I'll just look him straight in the eye and go, Asian chicks. Why would that help? Okay, it's.
Yeah, honestly, if you said that, I probably would have given you props because, like, hey, at least it's an honest answer.
I was talking to my cousin. He works out at Universal Studios, and I used to work there for a long time. And he said, we need help. You ever think of coming back? And I was like, I don't know. People might they'd be a fool to hire me. I've been like 6 years now doing this and other ways of basically working for myself. You'd have to be an idiot to hire me these days. I don't think I would have a filter anymore. I've just been unfiltered for 6 years now.
Well, you say that, and then I just shared that post where it was like Megatron at Universal responding to Daddy. That cracked me up. So
what did he say?
So it was a girl, and she was filming it, I think, for TikTok, and it's the guy in the Megatron big costume who comes out.
Yeah.
And I thought that they were pre-recorded. It turns out they're not. There's a guy with a voice synthesizer, and he's ad-libbing it. And the guy and the lady's like, Megatron, Daddy, like, look over here. And the guy playing Megatron's like, Daddy? Like, did you say that? We'll have to talk later. I was like, holy cow.
For what he's talking about, Universal Studios, which, by the way, I am going to be doing a video about how Universal is kicking Disney's ass these days.
Yep.
But Universal Studios has a picture meet and greet where they built these awesome, I mean, they look great. They're basically people on stilts, but the exterior of the stilts looks like the Transformers. It's an amazing costume. So you have these people walking around in these robot costumes, and yes, they've got cameras on everybody, and there's a guy in the back with a microphone they can hear you and they can respond to you. So you have the guy doing the body movements while the dude in the back is using a microphone to respond and actually talk to people. So it really does feel like the Transformers are just right there. It's very popular. It's an attraction in itself. It's one of the few meet and greets, and Disney has a lot of them, that actually is an attraction because they just look so freaking amazing.
I'll tell you what's interesting about something. You did a video about 2 or 3 days ago on the Homegrown Tourist. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because what is the channel? It's called, I think it's called Unauthorized Disney. They did the same topic that you did. And this guy, he's a pretty hardcore Disney fan. And he was just like, Disney has lost its soul, like the theme parks. And I just thought, that's interesting. Yep. It's like parallel thinking, because I was like, 24 hours ago, you did the exact same stream. So obviously, I don't think the guy was copying off of you.
Oh, no. Okay. Yeah. I wouldn't, especially considering my viewership over there is like 10 people. So, and I think you're one of them. So that's 9. I'm one of them. That's 8. But they've been really just crapping the bed. I think people like myself, and I know you go every year, but we are able to gauge the fall of Disney a lot better than your normal vacationer, because we're actually watching the decline. We watch how they let this little bit go, that little bit go. And to someone who's more casual about it, it's like a death by 1,000 paper cuts. But right. If you've been going all the time, it's been like this constant slope. And that's one of the things that I think you're seeing in some. You still got the Tim Trackers out there. Look, Tim Tracker, he's huge, does a great job doing what he's doing, I guess. But he's also out there for the bucks, and he makes them. But he's also getting Disney freebies. And it's the same thing with the Disney food blog. I always go to them as they're the most disingenuous channel I've ever seen. If I were to actively hate a Disney channel, it has to be Disney Food Blog, because they are a commercial.
They're very Pollyanna-ish. I can tell that they're trying to be very middle of the road, but sometimes their bias slips out. But this channel was it was Offhand Disney, and he did this interview. It was one he posted about 2 days ago, and it was with the lady who's actually the voice of the bride in the attic in the Haunted Mansion. Ooh, she's also the voice actress for Dee Dee in Dexter's Lab. And she brought up something that I just thought, that's it. You hit the nail on the head. And this is coming from someone who's done work for Disney. One thing that you, me, and Mark have been talking about is, what is it about the modern incarnation of the parks? It's like the technology has gotten better, but they've lost something in return. And the more I thought about it, I was like, on rides like the Haunted Mansion or the Jungle Cruise, they didn't tell you the story. Basically, they put enough Easter eggs that over time, if you ask 2 different people over a period of time, like, what's the plot of the Haunted Mansion, you'll get 2 different stories, because your imagination kind of fills in the gaps. Whereas I noticed that the modern iteration of Imagineering, they want to force feed you the narrative, where it's kind of like, no, you're on this planet called Batuu. Here are the characters. We're going to introduce you. Here's the narrative. Like, go, go, go. This is what you need to know. And the lady for this interview for Offhand Disney, she said the exact same thing. She was like, I know things have changed. I know Imagineering has changed and the way that they do storytelling. And she pointed it out. So apparently that was like a very deliberate thing. And if you've been watching, like on Disney Plus, some of their documentaries on the rides, it's very obvious. Like, Mark and I said that they're depressing to watch, because you can actually see from the moment Disneyland and Disney World were created, it was blue-collared workers who basically were like, hey, I just want to, make a fun ride experience for families and stuff like that. And then
also, by the way, if you pay attention to what they're building, it's carnival rides. Right. They're not doing, it's not like, Batuu, I actually enjoyed going to and seeing Batuu. I thought that I loved the immersiveness. I loved the cast members. Now, granted, I had not been there since it opened. I haven't been to Hollywood Studios since, I think, the shutdown. So I haven't seen it recently. And when I went there, all the cast members were having a great time. So I was having a great time with them. But even my review of Millennium Falcon, I said, you're either piloting or you're co-piloting or you're bored.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you're the engineer, you're pressing buttons and you can't even focus on what's happening like on the screen. But that is essentially this big difference in terms of how things started versus how things are right now. And as you watch these documentaries, you can see the Imagineers. It's like they get younger and younger and weirder. Like you can tell, oh, they're either right out of SCAD or right out of like the Savannah College of Art and Design. And it's like, okay. And they're always saying the same thing, like, oh my God, I was like a huge fan of it, but it needed to change. And I was just like, and one thing that we had talked about was we've been going as a family to Disney World since I was a tyke, just because it was just inoffensive fun. It was easy to manage. It was very easy to do around May. There was never any lines or anything like that. And we would like to actively boycott it just because we're so sick of the corporation. But it's knowing guys like you and the locals around Orlando, where it's like, to you guys, it's just the park next door. Same thing, like here in Arkansas, we have our own water parks and theme parks next door too. And it's like, okay, during the summer, that's where kids work. It's just understood that that's part of the local economy. And everyone that we've met at the theme parks, the cast members, they're so nice and they're so kind for the most part. And we know that they're all locals. And it's like, on one hand, it's hard because you have like this mega corporation, but you also have like the average Joe who's just working there because they want to support like the local business. And it's hard,
It is that as also a fan of the Disney, I also understand that this community kind of lives off of it. So we do need people to come. That being said, that I see how they're taking it's no longer about you as the guest. It's about them as the business. They have lost the guest service element. They lost the Disney magic, as it says. It's all over at Universal Studios now. So Cumberbatch came in, and we'll steer this back onto the topic in the title here. Common America on top 20 on which list? Amazon? Yes. It was the Kindle books, right?
Yes, it was the Kindle books.
So it was, I saw the highest one was at 19, right above Watchmen, which was at number 20. And then I believe even volume 3 made it above top 30.
Yeah, and I think either as of today or as of yesterday, volume 3 was in number 15 in Comic Quick Reads for graphic novels. And then on Thursday of last week, Common America number 1 was number 1 in Quick Reads, and then number 3, volume 3 was number 1 under Quick Reads under like 2 hours or something like that.
And I got a question real quick on Amazon. It lists you guys both as authors. No one's an artist.
I don't know what that's about. When I filled it in, I don't even know if artist was even an option.
I'm looking at book 1 right now. The Kindle edition. I was just like, why does it say like Tim's first? Obviously, because Tim's more important, I guess.
Not really.
Art. Oh yeah, I'm like, why is he listing as author? It's like, is this a glitch in the system, or is it like it's like guys are co-authors?
Legally, this was something that we were advised. So legally, anytime there's a rights issue, it's actually the writer who actually has the rights to the property. Now, between Mark and I, even though we split everything 50-50, the character of Common America was created by me, even in the original iteration of Warhead. But because we view the character as a joint effort, if something happens to me, like in terms of my untimely death, he gets basically 50% ownership again, and he just shares it with my wife. Now, if something happens to my wife and my extended family, he basically gets 100% ownership. So that way, at least on paper, we're covered, and that he knows that everything is a 50-50.
So basically, Mark is never driving the car on your vacation to Disney.
Yeah.
No, I don't let him drive, period. He's been in more accidents than I have. I've only been in one little tiny fender bender back in 2007.
Well, look at you breaking the stereotypes.
I know, right?
You hear the Eagle team? You don't have to ask him what's going to happen after he dies.
I know. Yeah, he answered the question. Yes, thank you. Mike Barron couldn't answer that question. Let's see. Zach saying, I've noticed a lot of people who are unhappy with Disney parks. Yeah, what's been going on. Like I said, their new rides are basically Great America. They're basically they're not Disney. Disney is to be the top. They should be the top. And they've just been faltering. Their prices have been going up. Anything that people like that they've been getting for free, including spots to watch the fireworks at or front rows at concerts, they're finding ways to charge people. So there is no pleasantry. You cannot just go into Disney and enjoy your day at the park. You have to plan it out to the tiniest detail, to the point where going to Disney is now a bit stressful. And then when you mirror it to your experience at Universal Studios or SeaWorld or Busch Gardens or Legoland, they're not the only game in town anymore. And but they're correctly assuming that no matter what they do to the guests, there's always going to be that a huge amount of people that are just going to fork over the money. Don't matter. Let's see. Disney is abandoned the middle class, regular people for the rich and elite. Yep. That's Bob Chapek right there. Let's see what else. What's going on? Oh, hey. Well, we're going to get to this, but thank you very much, Opinionated Junkie. Thoughts on Substack? I just actually looked at Substack today to get ready for this, because one of the things that have happened is Substack has actually got a lot of people that the names of from Marvel and DC to go over there. Tinian being one of them, who was just he was dragged off of Batman for it. That's an incredible character. That's an incredible opportunity. But ultimately, if he goes over to Substack, he owns everything. So if he creates Miracle Molly over there, he's got the rights. So if there's any kind of success, it's all him. And we've been seeing that actually more and more. Chuck Dixon, you're too conservative. Therefore, okay, I'll go to Indiegogo. Now, this isn't new. There have been, and here we go. We have Eric Back Issue Breen.
Greetings.
Hello. But as Eric can back me up on this, for the longest time now, there have been periods where artists and writers will just go, I'm done. I'm out. Now, in the beginning and with the Marvel Universe and DC, a lot of times it would be, I'm done with Marvel, I'm going to DC. I'm done with DC, I'm going to Marvel. Only to find out that they're the same, but
Marvel's the older brother, and DC's the younger brother. I want to be just like my older brother.
Yeah,
no.
Except for backwards. John Byrne left Marvel because he couldn't stand Jim Shooter, and he did some of the best Superman work you're gonna find. Daredevil was incredible for Marvel Comics, but the better deal was made for DC. So Frank Miller goes from Daredevil to DC Comics, does one of those seminal Batman works, a great samurai story. You got something to say there, Eric?
I was going to say Marv Wolfman and George Perez left DC, or Marvel go DC because they couldn't stand Shooter. So you could say that Jim Shooter made Marvel better and DC better just by being an asshole.
That's true, because thanks to them, the entire DC universe was repaved.
But we got 4, 5, 6 of the best Marvel runs in history with him, and some of the best DC runs because of him. So
there you go. Wow, Jim Shooter, one great guy for comics, huh?
He should be in the DC Hall of Fame.
I know, right? And we also, of course, know that there was that big comic book creator walkout that created Image Comics. And Indiegogo and Kickstarter is nothing new, but I think one of the things that has really happened in the last 5, 6, 7 years, maybe I'm putting too much credit on it, but I would go with the success of Tim, of EVS, of Diversity in Comics, showing of Chuck Dixon when he left. That showed everybody, look, whether you or not you like what they're saying, whether or not you like what they're doing, they're finding success on their own road. And it's like some people are waking up. This is not the time for the Dan Slotts of the world to act like this. This is not the time for the heads of Marvel and DC to act like they're the only game in town. They're not. And more, I'm reading that in the chats, I'm reading in the comment sections that there's no loyalty anymore. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a way that, look, Tim, you and the quality of your books is more consistent than damn near anything that Marvel and DC are producing. So why am I giving my money to Marvel and DC when Tim Lim's putting out some decent books? As a matter of fact, I think I can save a few dollars between the months.
Yeah, you can in that. I mean, so to add to that too, I mean, guys like Mark and Doug Ernst and myself, we, on the other hand, in an independent comic sphere, we do have peers and colleagues that we have to basically be in quote unquote competition with. And these are established pros who have left the mainstream to go independent. And they already start out with kind of an advantage because they already have a pedigree and they have a volume of work to look at, whereas we do not. And we will sink or swim depending on our customer service. If you are an established pro and you act like a jackass to customers, those same customers will probably still back you simply because they like your work so much. And I hate to say it, but that's true. Whereas like a guy like Mark or I, one false move that we make, it's over. They're not going to do it. So we have to find other ways to promote ourselves. And so our business model is one that a lot of people have contacted me and said, like, that was a daring and bold move, but I think it's paid out for you. So one thing that we did with crowdfunding is we always said from the very beginning, and you know this because you've known us for this long, we said that as you gain capital through crowdfunding, the goal is to improve quality but reduce cost. So you can start out with like a $20, $25 comic, but over time, hopefully, as you gain backers, you increase the wholesale quantity of your books, and that will actually drive your costs down. Now you have two choices. You can keep the profit or you can pass it on. And so one thing we did was we said, no, we're going to lower the cost of our books. So one thing that we do that people think is outrageously good or outrageously risky is we offer a hardback book for $10, and it's 64 to 72 pages. We do it the European style, and it's 3 times a year. That's the only way that guys like Mark and I compete with kind of the bigger names. And I remember when I told someone we're going to do this, they're like, that is completely crazy that you're going to do it. And I said, yes, but we have enough faith in the quality of our work that when people see what they're getting for $10 plus $5 shipping 3 times a year, hopefully they'll come back. And it will all be determined not on the packaging, but on the content inside. It has to be good. That's the only way they're going to come back and see that there is a bargain there. And we do have to work hard for that. And we put out 3 books a year. So in the last 2 years, I put out 460 pages of work just between myself and Mark. We don't hire colorists. We don't hire inkers. We don't hire letters. Everything is just done in a 2-person team. But this is just the independent kind of gig economy space that we're having to work in. And I guess kind of looking at the Substack thing and kind of people jumping ship, I think that's great. Working independently is good, but it's not easy. And I think a lot of the mainstream people, I think they're going to have a little bit of a buffer because, like I said, if you're a big name, you can make a lot of mistakes and you're always going to be forgiven for them, at least in the short run. But until you find out until you figure out the logistics of how it works independently without having to rely on a bigger machine for things like your customer service, your fulfillment, your shipping, your printing, you really have to do a lot of your homework on the front end, but you do have that buffer in place. Whereas I lament a lot of independent people whose work is honest to God really good, but because they made those mistakes on the front end, they're not going to be forgiven for them, and that's sad. And I've seen it time and time again. You have someone who makes like $20,000-$25,000 in their books. They're late by about 9 to 15 months, but because they're not a big name guy, they're not forgiven the second time around. Whereas a bigger name can be late for years, and they're always going to be forgiven just because they're a bigger name. So I just think the independent sphere is interesting to look at, the dynamics that take place are very precarious depending on your status as far as how comic readers see you. But it's also fun. It's very rewarding if you play your cards right.
Well, that's kind of cool. Also, I do, and I've said this before, especially when I had my rant about Dan Slott, I do think that as much as we hold accountable, I see Evil Black Cat calling Kelly Sudaconic Smelly Pudacon. But yeah, so as much as we hold them, we do have to hold the Indiegogo crowd and to the same standards. I'm sorry if somebody you were mentioning, somebody the first time out, maybe they don't know what they're getting into. Okay, they have a hard time. Sure, they're keeping contact and telling you everything. That's fine. They could say unforeseen circumstance, not foreskin, but unforeseen circumstances. If they do it again, it's not unforeseen. So you gotta keep their feet to the fire the same as anybody else's. Don't let them get away with stuff that you wouldn't let Marvel and DC. Otherwise, you're changing one emperor for the other. You know, you want to be able to say, hey, look, sorry, screw me once, shame on me, screw me again, shame on I won't get fooled again. We've heard the thing, the thing. Anyway, let's see. What about just two people? You have more work ethic than most of the indie comic creators out there, says Zach Richmond.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That's you might hate my art, you might hate Mark's writing, but the one thing we say no one can hate is our work ethic. I've had a lot of health problems this year, a lot of it stemming from my work ethic. It's funny because there's this manga called Bakuman, and it actually sheds light on how the manga industry in Japan is so busy and so cutthroat that, manga artists will work themselves to death just because they don't take a break. And I don't think I'm quite that bad. I do take breaks periodically, but doing a lot of the labor by myself has been rather taxing. So I've had to kind of lay off on it for a while, but enough so that I can still produce. Again, let's see, 64, 72, around 240 plus pages a year. Not easy, that's for sure. But one thing that we do see from Twitter and the interaction that we have with readers is they say, man, a couple things, the packaging is beautiful. You can tell it was a labor of love, and you can tell these guys work hard. Now, if you like our writing and our art, that's great. That's obviously what we want. But if nothing else, we did not fail in the department of service. That is something that will put us above other people.
Do me a favor. Describe to me saddle stitch binding.
Saddle stitch binding is the fancy word for staples.
Because I'm going, saddle stitch binding? I've never heard anything. Is this like it's in leather and you've got like freaking strings going through it? What is this?
It's BDSM on Jello.
Let's see. Orders containing pre-order. Okay, hold on. What do we get here? Common American now on saddle stitch binding with a brand new cover by Hybrin. Did I say that right?
Yeah, by Hybrin.
Hybrin. Okay. Yeah. Then you've got the art creation character design by Timothy Lim, written and edited by Mark Pellegrini. Front and back cover by Vamco. It's the 4th printing. Common America tells the story of Charlotte Carly Vanders, a seamstress from Indiana who aspires to become a fashionista someday. She pursues all possible venues to make her dream come true, including joining the USO as a costume designer, dancer, and entertainer. I was looking at this. I was thinking, okay. I was looking at it. I actually was thinking about snagging it when I saw what the hell is saddle stitch binding. Alrighty. Yes, I have that up, by the way. Let me get this out here. So if anybody is interested who has not yet gotten Common America, it is now in saddle stitch binding, and here is the link if y'all want to jump on over there and check it out for yourselves. See if it's
right
your
now
cup of
at
tea.
this moment. Right now while we're streaming, jump over there.
Yeah. We've had a lot of success a lot of it has been very fortuitous just in terms of momentum. So one thing that Doug Ernst and I have talked about, and the people at Iconic Comics, is that we have to always keep a forward momentum. Now that we have a lot of IPs under the Iconic umbrella, we're all working in tandem to help each other. But momentum is important, especially because Common America is considered their flagship character. So there's a lot of responsibility in terms of how readers perceive the title, the periodicity at which it comes out, things of that nature. But we were really boosted a lot in the last month, primarily because like Bell County Comic Con, it had 32,000 attendees. Common America was the mascot of the convention. So they gave out 10,000 like comics that had Common America in it. So there were a lot of eyes on it. And so we had a lot of post-convention speed and momentum as a result. I mean, we sold like, I don't know, like 5,000 cups with like a logo on it. It was crazy.
If you can find out where all the like you went to number one at one point, you said if you can find out who's reading the book, I wonder if it's local.
It could be. We've been getting a lot of reviews in. It was just a lot of people, they found out about it through Just Some Guy. And now this is an interesting thing too, because Just Some Guy, I don't know who he is in real life. We talk very, very rarely, if at all. But he reads our books, and he reviewed Common America 3. Now this book has been out since March of this year. So it's an older title by a few months. But what we appreciate with it is that a lot of people will get a lot of their speed because of the front end promotion. So it's kind of like, come all, see the amazing comic book that's going to be crowdfunded, put in your orders right now. And that's great if it's going to be like ahead of time. But to have someone read it and review it after the fact and give their endorsement, that's huge, because it tells us that this is someone who took the gamble on the front end, didn't really announce it to anyone, but then told everyone after the fact, hey, this book is good. That is something that we almost appreciate more than having the front end endorsement, because you don't know. I mean, Mark and I love our work because we're the people who made it. So obviously, if we love it, if it's a labor of love, we just hope that transitive property goes to the readers as well, that they see how much craftsmanship and how much dedication we put into it. But that's never a guarantee. You could read our stuff and not like it, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, that failure is ultimately on us as the storytellers. But to have someone, a third party, read it and then tell everyone, this is really good, you could see how those numbers are reflected, because the two books that really did well on Amazon were Volume 1 and Volume 3. So it meant that people were buying Volume 3 because Just Some Guy read it and reviewed it, and then being like, oh man, this is good, let me buy Volume 1. And then as like the next afterthought, Volume 2. But it was interesting seeing that horse race this weekend with the 3 volumes kind of competing against each other to see who would get to the top.
Well, that's kind of cool. Now, Jay, of course, being massively popular, really good guy. It is sad, his condition. I mean, he's pretty good, good guy, great sense of humor. But when he gets depressed, he's got, I know it's not the clinical term really isn't schizophrenia, but he is multi-personality, and he becomes a guy named Kwanzaa Osajefyo when he's suffering a breakdown. So he does have a good and evil side. That's all I'm saying.
So you're saying he had a 17-minute battle with himself today that he released?
Yeah. No, I think that would be funny, but yes, of course, I'm joking.
Whenever it gets you views.
I know, right? No, I think that would be very funny. I'm sad but funny.
Because he spent a lot of time, ridiculing himself today. Then,
dude, here's the thing. When Just Some Guy, I was teeing up. I read this book Black, and I was teeing up to do a takedown, a bad comic beatdown on it. This is years ago, and I watched Just Some Guys, and I was like, ain't nobody ever gonna do that any better.
Yeah, it was White's turn today.
Okay.
So I didn't, from the imaginative mind of Kwanzaa, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that last name.
Osajefyo.
Who gives a crap? White. Spoiler: we don't come off very well in the book.
He is not a good writer, and
No.
okay, Sam, I was wondering where you were going to go with that. Yeah. No, I know he does watch these, and he knows I'm joking about that. Yes.
So Tim, any spoilers or teasers you can give us for the next volume, when it might be released?
Yes, we're launching it on Wednesday of next week.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
It's already finished. So we're working on volume 5, and we're working on. We announced it a few weeks ago, but we're also doing Common America, the webtoon. So I mean, like I said, I stay pretty busy. So the webtoon is going to be on Webtoons, and it's going to be free. That's going to be once a week, so 1 episode a week, starting next Wednesday. So 2 things to look forward to Wednesday next week. And we should be having that 4th volume dropping by the 2nd week of November. That should be shipping out.
So what you're saying is you're planning on never going to Disney ever again.
I hate to break Englantine's heart, but I don't think we're going to make it this year. But we might make it in January when the crowds are lesser.
See, I'm trying to get Eric down here and Venkman and them down in January. There's no crowd there at that point in time, and the weather is survivable to somebody who's from up north. So you guys, I might actually be in a jacket and y'all be walking around in shorts.
Yeah, but he just wants us to come down and clean his pool.
Yes, but it's one of those little plastic ones from Walmart. It's really
when I think of Revenge of the Nerds, it's got a screen swimming pool here.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Let's see. Zach saying the crossover with Black Ops is about to be delivered, right?
Yes. The Indiegogo one. So Kickstarter, we have about 300 left to fulfill, and I think those are all going out this week. And then Wednesday is when the campaign for the Indiegogo closes. And so once the funding comes through, which in the past has traditionally been between 2 to 7 business days, we immediately start fulfillment on that one. So next Wednesday might be an insane day, simply because we have the webtoon launching, the 4th volume launching, and the fulfillment starting on the Indiegogo. But the Kickstarter fulfillments should all be finished by either the end of this week or the start of next week. But last week was crazy because they mailed out about 800 to 1,200 books. It was nuts.
So Comic Works is asking, are you yet a full-time artist, or do you still have a day job?
We still have day jobs. Mark is he's an administrative assistant, and I'm an audiologist. We don't get much sleep.
Right. So what do you think? What is the level of a success that will make you quit your day job? What do you think?
Probably nothing. I like I like doing what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of it is just the work ethic. I just like staying busy. And I know that because audiology is in the medical field, there are always going to be patients who kind of need our services. And I just keep on, doing what I do on both ends, both the audiology stuff and the art and the comics and whatnot. And same thing with Mark as well. He's very fiscally conservative. So he knows that right now what pays his bills on a regular basis is definitely his day job.
Okay. Let's see.
And that's why, by the way, that's why I have a pretty thick skin when it comes to a lot of things. Like people are like, your art sucks. And I'm like, well, I never went to art school, so it could, I have no idea if I'm even drawing this properly.
You never went to art school, but making more money than them.
Well, the thing is that, and I'll bring this up again, the only thing that gets on my nerves is when people say I'm lazy. That really gets on my nerves because I'm like, I can objectively say that I'm not lazy. I work really, really hard. That's the only thing I can say that's objectively true.
I can't imagine anybody who knows you saying that you would be lazy. Yeah. One of the things for years now people have been saying is that Tim and Mark are workhorses. They make sure that they get their stuff out and they get their stuff out on time. One of the things when Rich was doing Jawbreakers and what was the other one? Iron Horse. What was that called? Iron Sights. One of the things when they were late and EVS was late, you put out like 3 or 4 books in the same time. It's like people are like, wait a second, how is it that these two can do 3 or 4 books? And that's not to cause any guys. Don't go over. Oh my gosh, you can't believe it. Jesus Christ. There's always some pussy that runs over and says something.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Yeah, I know.
I'll join you.
But the thing is I can't imagine anybody who actually knows you would ever say you're lazy about it.
It
doesn't make sense.
Trolls and critics and stuff like that, and some of it might be an honest opinion. Maybe it's because I see him on Twitter and he's posting stuff, and why is he posting stuff when he should be like fulfilling my book or whatever?
Yeah, why are you on YouTube, bro? Why aren't you getting my book out to me?
Because I know that one thing, like for example, again, there's like the customer service part of it. There was a time earlier this year where I was so slammed with stuff that I basically paid Iconic Comics to just do my customer service for about a month and a half. But when you fill out something on Indiegogo or Kickstarter, and Kickstarter is a little bit worse than this because of their survey system. For example, we mail the PDFs out to people and we tell people, you have 7 days to download this PDF and then it expires. And we do that to curb piracy. For some reason, there's something in the human psychology that makes it where if we make you jump through one hoop, you're more than likely not gonna like share it out, or you're more than likely to kind of keep it to yourself. And we can track and see, like, are there weird addresses that are downloading our file like 50 times? Well, anyway, the link expires in 7 days. It's on all of our campaign pages. It says you have 7 days to do this. And then afterwards, we say there's a 31-day grace period. So if something came up, like, if you were out of town or on vacation, you could appeal it and just say, hey, this came up. I was in the hospital. Can you send me the link? And we'd say, yeah, for 31 days, it's fine. You can mail us and we'll judge it on a case-by-case basis. But we have some people who will contact us and they'll be like, hey, yeah, they'll say, hey, where's my link? Like, send me my link. It says it expired. And basically, like, I'm doing stuff during the day. I don't get to them until like the evening. But during the day, I'll be like posting stuff on Twitter where it's like, hey, there's other thing active, and then I'll get that response where it's like, hey, like are you too lazy to go reply to my message or my comment? Like, where's my link? I saw you on Twitter posting stuff, and I was like, it's days like that where I'm like, I am a lot of things. I'm not a perfect person, but I am not lazy. And it's that part where I have to bite my tongue because there's that part of me that wants to say, you were late on your obligation as the reader to download something in the time frame that we had said multiple times. You have to. It's kind of like, it's like if you buy food from a grocery store and it says best by this date, and you bring it home and you don't open it until like a year later, and you're like, wait a minute, why is it spoiled? It's like, well, you were told that this is how it is. There are certain restrictions in terms of what you are given access to. And
you gotta admit, I've done that many times with the digital, like you get a comic with a digital code, and then I've done that, and I'm not like, oh my gosh, Marvel, you suck for not letting me get this late.
But I can verify though, what he's saying about you have so much time, because I ordered from them. And,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, Tim actually like puts out tons of emails, so I'm going there. I'm like, I've already read this one. I'm like, geez, I'm up to 20th in a week. It's like updates. And
okay.
Gmail gives a like the has a little section for updates, so the numbers go higher and higher. You can watch. I'm just like, I'll go to the latest one.
Okay, so do me a favor. I cannot watch the comments right now. I have not seen Shang-Chi, and I am not going to get shit spoiled by.
I told them no spoilers, and
please, no spoilers of the movie.
You will be timed out.
Yeah, I'm going to see it tomorrow, and then by all means. But I hate spoilers, and I have not yet seen it. Haven't had the chance. Didn't have a car on front. We're still saving money to get the car fixed. And
it just came out on Friday.
Yeah,
too. So it's like, at least wait a week.
I tried to get Gail to go because we went to the ice cream parlor right next to the theater, and I was like, wow, a lot of people here. Why are they here? I went, Shang-Chi, and Gail's like, no, we're not gonna go see him.
Is that really how she sounds?
Guess if she's not home or not.
So Dominic, please.
So you do realize if I'd gone to see that today, I would be spoiling the crap out of it while eating Pringles right now.
Yeah,
I would do that for you.
I appreciate it. Yes, it's that level of respect.
While you're reading Amazing Spider-Man 180, just with your Pringle hands.
Well, no, I would just eat. I would read that while eating pizza.
And he meant Incredible Hulk, by the way.
Yes.
I know that. I want to see it though. I've heard some good things about it, and I know that I've heard some bad things about it. But
I only say this: I'm not really into the Marvel doing a martial arts thing.
Yeah,
I'd rather see Iron Fist again.
Wow, that is because I know how other people feel about Iron Fist. I think I'm the only one that liked season 2.
I enjoyed Iron Fist.
I like season 2 better than season 1.
Me too. The Iron Fist TV show, I think, and I'll say this about both seasons, I'd rather watch The Daughters of the Dragon. I thought, what was her name? What's her name, Eric? The female martial.
The character's name is Colleen Wing.
Colleen Wing, thank you.
Yeah.
I thought she was so much better, more exciting, a better written character, and in the end, I just would prefer a show about her. Thank you very much to Cumberbatch. Hi, E. Hope you had a great holiday. Today. I did a lot of yelling, screaming, and cussing, but had some good chicken wings. So 50-50. I was getting my printer working, but I forgot I lost the instruction booklet. So it was all trial and error until it got all set up. And now I'm all set and ready to be a proper eBayist.
Yeah, since you're not reading the comments, Opinionated Junkie just said Luke Cage was a better show. He might be right. I think of the 4 main shows. Oddly enough, I was looking forward to the next season of Luke Cage and Iron Fist even more than Daredevil, because the way they set those 2 seasons up, Luke Cage would have been very interesting in season 3 as basically the crime boss.
Yeah, he became the crime boss.
Up. And how was Danny going to get the fist back? And I think the buddy thing they were working with Ward, which was so impossible to see in season 1, but totally believable by the end of season 2. And we would have gotten a lot more Colleen and Misty, which now I guess if they're ever going to bring those characters back, we have to wait for that stupid show she's on now to get canceled. But I mean, Daredevil, I was expecting, I knew would be good no matter what they came up with. And I guess there's Punisher. Jessica Jones, I had no hope in that ever not sucking again.
The first season was the best, and then after that, you're like, okay,
it went down. Jessica Jones went down.
And then it's like we're gonna make the Ginger the villain.
The third
season 1 was awfully good, though.
The third season of Jessica Jones was the social justice manifesto. It was really, really sad. Black Cat is saying, I love comics, prefers a show about an Asian woman. I am shocked. Well, not that shocked. Very silent on the topic of Marvel TV shows on Netflix there, Tim.
I'm just interested in y'all's opinions because I watched them all and it's all blurring to me in terms of did I watch that season or did I not?
What was good? Daredevil season 1 through 3 is a complete movie in my opinion. It is 72-hour awesomeness.
And, my only criticism of all of them, because with the exception of Punisher, I have a very, very slim knowledge of those other properties. I mean, I know enough of them to know their general histories as fictional characters, but they all suffer from one thing, and it's bloat. I feel like they could have done in about 2/3 or half as many episodes what they did in like a full season. Okay. And I think that was especially true with like, for example, Daredevil and Punisher. I was just like, you know what? I bet with some good editing, you could have probably trimmed this down, and it probably would have gone the point across. I don't recall hating any one of those shows particularly. My only criticism of Iron Fist, for example, was I thought the choreography, it was done in a way where it was very obvious that he did not have the proper training. And it came across as comical. Yeah.
The camera's behind a wall. Stuntman in a shadow.
I gotta blame the producers and all that stuff because he was a last minute hire. He never got a chance to do any of the choreography and stuff.
You would think they would find a martial artist who could act rather than an actor that they could train for martial arts if they were that pressed for time. And I'm pretty sure there's somebody out there who could have fit the bill. Someone told me that Iron Fist season 2 was preparing. Went up there. Was preparing to bump off Danny Rand to make Colleen Wing the new Iron Fist. It might have been, and it might have been a case of this guy isn't doing what he needs to do to be Iron Fist as an actor, because by season 2 he should have trained. I mean, look at Keanu Reeves was not a martial artist. But he worked his ass off to make us think that he knew martial arts when he did the Matrix. By season 2, this kid could have done something, and Iron Fist could have been his vehicle.
I don't think they were doing that to get rid of him. I think his journey back to getting the fist back was going to be his part of season 3, and I think it was also going to allow Colleen and Misty a chance to shine, because I think had this not all blown up in the wrong direction, I think there would have been a Daughters of the Dragon spinoff.
Yeah, that could have been.
And that would have come out of season 3.
I will say this. I actually agree a little bit with what Tim said. I don't think Daredevil needs to be edited down a lot, maybe an episode here or there, tighten up the story so maybe you can condense a couple of episodes. But the one that needed to be expanded was the Defenders. That was actually only 10 episodes. It needed a little bit more time.
Only 8.
It was only 8. Yeah, I think it needed a few more episodes to really introduce the world, because we already knew the characters. So don't waste time introducing the characters. Let's do more world building. Let's do some villain building. They found that out, of course, with Infinity War, but I think they should have done that there. Let's see. Thank you to Opinionated Junkie for the super chat. Danny not wearing a mask is dumb. The fact that is beat up dudes with no mask and rich would have opened lawsuits. Well, that's a good point. I do know in season 2 they had him wear the Iron Fist mask, and I kind of dug on that.
Bandana,
yeah.
Oh wait, now the only thing, and I'm getting them confused again because of cross wires. I think the only thing that I've seen series-wise where I did not like it was Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That was definitely one where I watched it to the end and I was like, my God.
Falcon and the what?
And the Winter Soldier.
He calls it Falcon and the Snowman.
And the Snowman, okay.
Yeah. I was not a big fan of that one either. From the start, I just wasn't. It's like, I know you killed people, but you're the hero. Oh, shut up. Freaking, what are y'all doing to the character of the Falcon? Seriously. Come on, you know the thing.
What they should have done, instead of if you're going to cancel both Iron Fist and Luke Cage, put them in their own show together. Call Heroes for Hire.
I think that was going to be season 4, so they didn't have to expand the number of shows. I think we were going to get a Daughters of the Dragon and Power Man and Iron Fist. I truly believe that's where they were going.
Yeah, and once again, thank you for the super chat, Opinionated Junkie.
Too much Rosario Dawson.
Yeah,
she went from like 3 different guys. She's like, I like you, and then she goes, no, I like you more, and it's like, who's she jumping to next?
Wait a second, did you say too much Rosario Dawson?
Well, she came annoying after a while.
No such thing as too much Rosario Dawson.
She did Full Frontal in a movie, right?
Ew, gross.
This is the guy whose channel we're on. Just remember that. And he's got Captain America behind him.
Should I put Rosario Dalton in the bush?
Rosario Dalton?
Dawson.
Really, E? Ain't something you'd like to tell us?
Is that what I said? Oh,
yes,
shit.
You did.
Yeah. God damn it. No, okay, no, this is not going to become a thing, okay? It's not going to become, oh, watch out for the E.
Dalton, Engeltine.
No, it's not going to be, it's not going to get that. Oh my gosh, it's the Green Lantern nowadays because, no, it's not going to become that. It's not a, how do you know that's Tim Lim? No, it ain't going to become that. We're dropping it.
Headlines. Uncle Fudge likes Rosario Dalton.
It could have been worse, Englentine. You could have been like, well, Tim, you were in Iron Fist. I was like, wait, what? It's like, you looked actually pretty hot in there, you know?
Yeah, Tim, I see you everywhere. Yes.
It's like, oh, who are you talking about? You know, Colleen Wing. It's like,
okay, for the two people who do not know the story, the
two people.
Yes. Okay. So Tim and Doug and Mark, they came down for their vacation as they do, and we met up at downtown Disney Springs, and we're just walking about. Tim and Mark go off on their own. Me and Doug are walking about, and we said, well, we got to find Tim. And I was looking around and I see Asian hair over there. And I'm like, oh, here he is walking around. Absolutely not him. And I go, do not tell Tim. But there you go. So I had one moment of they all look alike.
I think that stuff is funny. Did I ever tell you the story of when I went to China? So we went to Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Beijing. Mm-hmm. And because I live in the South, everyone I've known my whole life, you were either white, black, or Hispanic. I knew a handful of Asian people. When I went to China, I had the worst identity crisis ever because I was like, holy shit, they all look like me. It's like a sea of clones. Like, I feel like I've just like stepped out of like a cloning machine or something, and the whole world is populated by me. So whenever people are like make that insinuation where it's like, oh, they all look alike, don't say that, that's racist. I'm like, no, they're right. Like,
I've heard a lot of Asian people say we can't tell us apart either.
We can't tell us apart. But it's funny because it's like, well, the same thing could be true about white people. It's like, no. Like, I spent a lot of time in Europe. Obviously, I've grown up here. It's like you come in all colors. It's like you got white hair, dark hair, black hair, brown hair, facial hair, blue eyes, no hair, hazel eyes, blue eyes, green eyes. You know, so it's like, no, I can tell. Like, white people, you say white, that's a canopy description.
It must suck to be a cop in China or Korea. Okay, can you describe the perp? Yes, he was 5'6". He had dark hair. He was skinny.
And what do you use to kill? Chopsticks. Oh
no!
Couldn't you just say, what does he look like? You?
And he had brown eyes. Yeah.
What do he look like? Goku.
Karate, kung fu. You know. So
they
to kill people.
Let's see. I didn't buy the Asian chick beating up the big muscle. That's in every movie and comic book or anything where you got the 5'2" girl that might weigh 105 pounds soaking wet with holding a brick, and they're beating the shit out of some guy 6'5", muscle bound, look like a freaking rock.
At least it's a little more believable, A, in a comic book property, and being someone who has trained their whole lives, as opposed to that, suburban housewife who is done wrong, so she's out there, like basically everything.
Hey, I like Bad Mother.
Ever played.
I like the book Bad Mother. It was pretty damn good, but that's exactly what that was. It was
Did
just
you go across the street and ask your neighbor if they got your package?
He has a habit of giving out the wrong address.
Context. Actually, he's been on vacation, so it might actually be in the mailbox. So,
but they'd have to have a big mailbox. So it's a pretty decent sized package.
Okay.
So they probably attempted to deliver it once, and then it goes back to the pickup, and you can't pick it up because it's.
I've got to wait till the guy. I think he's on vacation for Labor Day. Hopefully, he'll be back tomorrow or the next, and I'll go over. I've been over every dang day, twice a day. Finally, his neighbor comes out and goes, "Can I help you?" And I introduce myself.
I'm trying to get in this house here. Do you have the keys?
Yeah.
No, I said there were two surprises. One of them is I gave you another set of Bad Mother.
Oh wow!
I know you auctioned yours.
Yep, it is a really good.
The other one is a can of glitter.
So look for that at a future auction, kids.
Yep. Let's see. Nowadays, like sub was. Oh, he wore a mask. Yeah. If the cop's going, can you tell me what they look like? They were wearing him. Yeah, everybody's wearing a mask.
The best thing you can do is just sew the name into the kid's shirt, and then you can tell who he's with. Because they all look like Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Let's see. I liked I liked Scarlet Witch except for the last 5 minutes, and I really liked Loki. I thought that was pretty solid. I'm enjoying. It seems like I've enjoyed 3 of the 5 what ifs, right? Or are they 3? 3 of them. 2 of the 3.
4 was the one with Doctor Strange, and that was probably the best out of everything they put out.
Yeah, I liked the first. I liked the first one. Hated the second one. The third one. Which one? The third one was the Tony. Yeah. I liked it until you find out who did it, and then I was like, bullshit.
I had a feeling who it was the whole time, so I'm not gonna reveal who it was. People haven't seen it, but
okay.
I thought it was pretty good.
The point of this one is when you find out who did it and why they did it, you're like, okay, so you're mad at them, so you killed them. You didn't go after the people who actually hurt you. Well, you went after a whole bunch of people who had nothing to do with it.
Did you see the person though? He looked unhinged.
Yeah, but he didn't go after the people who did it. He went after people who had 0 to do with it. So I think that's a step too far. I could not believe that. So I did not like those 2 episodes. It's the same thing with Scarlet Witch. I liked it right up until the end, and then it just threw it away. I did enjoy the Doctor Strange one, and I did enjoy the Captain America or Captain Britain one. That one was good.
Like I said, I like the episode 4, Doctor Strange. I think that's better than anything they put out. Even Loki. I just love that episode.
The Doctor Strange episode was pretty good. And I think one of the reasons why I like the Doctor Strange episode. Have you seen these, Tim and Eric?
I've only seen the first episode.
Yeah, I just noticed we have Tim and Eric here. I did enjoy that 4th one because it is exactly what if is. It shows how a small change could have a big effect.
Well, it's also Doctor Strange. I've been waiting for that in the movies. We haven't seen anything like that before. That was so cool. And that's why, honestly, I love Doctor Strange done in animation form versus live action. Comic book stuff, it just works better in animation to me. You can get away with more stuff.
I just read this week Marvel has a What If omnibus for $85 coming out. Even has a few variant covers. Didn't know an omnibus has variants now. I know they do reprints and such like that.
I've seen it with hardcovers. They have you'll have a different cover on it, for certain trades and stuff.
No, they have variant covers for omnibuses now. When I ordered it was either the 3rd or 4th Spider-Man, I guess it was volume 4. There was one of the variant covers was the Morbius cover from 101. And so my friend and I, we always order them together. So we both ordered that. And the place we ordered from said, you're only allowed 1 per customer. So I said, screw it. Give me the J. Scott Campbell one. I don't care. That one's worth cover price. The Morbius one's worth like $400 now.
You are so good at that.
I suck at that, sir.
Yeah.
Hey, Breen, you ever hear a comic book called The Walking Dead?
Oh, shut up. And you know what's coming next.
Say it with me, guys.
Eat hot death. You.
Let's see. Liked 1, 3, and 4 of What If. The number 2. Okay, so number 2, I watched that and I'm like, wait a second. If Black Panther is taken by and raised by the Ravagers, he does not become a criminal like all of the Ravagers he's with. Instead, he and his noble spirit cause them to go straight, including freaking Thanos. It's like, oh my gosh, they Mary sued him. They Mary sued Black Panther. And I was like, it's a bullshit story. It is absolutely a bullshit story. It really, in my opinion, it kills the character of the Black Panther. It kills the character of T'Challa. It makes things too easy. There was no threat to T'Challa at all, ever in that episode. So I don't know. I hated
We're like, oh, he's a better Star-Lord. I'm like, he's not Star-Lord.
No.
You can't call. They should have called him something else. You didn't even call him Star-Lord because Quill got that from his mom's.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like that episode was made for the comic book audience they're trying to create.
Yeah, it could be. It was really bad.
The X-Men crew, people who love Hickman's X-Men right now.
And Venkman's right. He shouldn't have been Star-Lord because in the movie, Star-Lord was, "Oh, you're my little Star-Lord." That was what his mom said to him. It wasn't like the Ravager said, "Oh, we're gonna call you Star-Lord, kid." No, it was from his mom. And if they set it up, of course they would have to address this at some point in time in the live action MCU. But if they set it up with a scene where the father called him Star-Lord, then okay. But then you have to explain why is T'Challa's father calling him that when we saw nothing of it in the MCU. It was a really, really poorly written episode.
So now that people can't even be expected to do research on the MCU properties that they're basing the series on.
Yeah, apparently.
Also, throwing T'Challa into a wooden crate in that episode, really? It's too soon, guys.
And so let's see. They made the name Star-Lord a freaking mantle, and I know, right? But I don't want to get back into that.
It's a legacy title now. Anybody can be Star-Lord.
Yeah, as far as this next wave of Marvel, I know it started with the TV shows. Black Widow was a bit of stupidity. It was, the more I think about Black Widow, the more I get pissed off at it. Like, I think I enjoyed it as stupid fun, but the more I think about it, the less in my head I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. I got it. Yeah. You're just flawed.
I know I'm a flawed thinker. It's just, it just, I don't know what they could have done versus what they did. The fact that the action absolutely has nothing to do with the story. You know, you could tell that they filmed the action before they had a script. And when and this is what really pisses me off. The scenes about the family are so effective and they work so well that the action seems to interrupt everything. It stops the story instead of moving the story forward, instead of it being written intelligently into the script. It stops. It's like, okay, we got this great setup. Okay, hold on, we got to do this action scene. Oh, great setup, and here's a stupid action scene.
Hey, can I say something real quick? Yeah, okay, that was my point. It's. I don't expect them to do any comic book research. That involves reading.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they can't even go back and see what they did in the live action stuff that this series is. From what I understand, the What If cartoon is based on the MCU, right? Not the comics, more or less.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the MCU What If.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yep.
Which makes sense. I mean, yeah, it's larger audience.
The people making these things don't use comics as source material. So okay, how am I thinking? Like, well, I think like Weaponized Nerd Rage. He was on the channel quite a bit. We do have a lot that we agree with, and he's a Florida man.
I would say it's like him with his Terminator Dark Fate. How he didn't like that. That's how you're getting with Black Widow.
I would watch Terminator Dark Fate again before I watch Black Widow. Like if I had the choice between the two of them, I'll pick Terminator Dark Fate.
And you know, in your defense, like I said, if Black Widow had been 2 hours of Scarlett Johansson saying how much she hates the I Love Puppets channel, you'd still love the movie.
I've liked the character even before in Avengers. I mean, I've loved Black Widow. It's something. I know LK is taking a pot shot because I like the book right now with Kelly Thompson, but I've loved the character. You know,
that's kind of my point.
That's the thing. It's like, you know, it's. I'm not overlooking it as being bad. I just thoroughly enjoy it. I love those movies. I love stuff like Hit Girl and all that stuff. You know, I've always liked that.
Do you have $800? My comic shop has a first appearance of the Black Widow.
$800. I thought
$800.
I thought we were going somewhere else. I'm like, Scarlett Johansson's worth more than $800.
I'd pay $850. No, but there, yeah, my comic shop has a first appearance of Black Widow. I'm like, my daughter's teeth, first appearance.
They grow back again, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, just here you go, kiddo. Here's a bottle of Jack Daniels. I've got a wrench.
The thing is, though, you tell me these things, and then you're like, I'm like, sure, and then you go there, it's gone.
It's been there.
We've
been
on this road twice now.
Yeah, it's been there for a while though.
So
is it slabs or is it raw copy?
It's raw.
Huh.
One of the when I was going through these couple boxes of old comics, which was basically 90s crap and then stuff older than me or close to my age, found there's a run of coverless comics. One of them was the first Hawkeye.
And how much do you have on the first Hawkeye?
It's in a stack with other coverless comics. Now, I might do something with it someday, but I mean, it's the, and the thing is that, there could have been, it could have just easily have had the cover because there was no rhyme or reason to this guy. But he had Jughead 2 and 3.
Wow.
I've never seen, Jughead 2 and 3.
Talk to me first, please. If it's in the price range, I would talk about a first appearance of Hawkeye. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm not sure if it might be missing the first 2 story pages too. So that was another thing I found was when you talk, even the ones with covers, you always have to do a page count because that's very common, especially in the way more so in the 32 page, because for whatever reason, I guess maybe the 52 pagers, they might be bound a little better, but and then the 64 and then 80s, there's almost never any pages out of those. But so some of these cover ones were missing more than just the covers.
Okay, well, we are way off the original topic, so let's bring this one to a close. Sorry, those of you who are listening.
Let's bring it to a close.
Bring it, sorry to those who are listening while working. Which Tim, are you talking while working?
Of course he is. That's why his camera's on.
I'm listening to you guys
while working. Okay, but there you go, guys. I would first of all thank you, Tim, for coming on, and congratulations for your for the success.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
I think I speak for everyone when we say you definitely deserve it. You and Mark. Yes, the other guy on the thumbnail, by the way. And thank you to Dr. Venkman and Eric for joining the conversation. Thank you guys for helping to keep it going. Don't forget, what do we got? I always say we're going to be doing a top 10. I really got to get that going again on Tuesdays. Let's see. Thursday, we're going to be doing a story of some sorts, and Friday, we're going to be doing a first appearance Friday. Make sure you're checking out I Love Puppets as they do some awesome reviews of TV shows.
It's no longer I Love Comics. I was outvoted for some reason, and we're now Comic Book Puppets.
You're Comic Book Puppets.
I hate that
name. Okay. Comic Book Puppets. And
doesn't sound right.
And as always, gang, I'll say hello and good night to John. Sorry you just jumped in, but good night, John, as well. And as always, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good night, gang.
Bye, Comic America.